All right, here we go. And welcome to the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. I am Joey Calvo. Check out our website, lifewithjoeycalvo.website, where you can find out upcoming guests that are coming on, as well as you purchasing tickets for live events that are coming, as well as checking out previous episodes of the podcast. So today we have RC Hand, and RC was raised through a rough bar in a Latino neighborhood, and so his father owned a very large bar, restaurant, and dance hall, and he has a very good story to tell. So RC, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you very much.
All right, so let's introduce ourselves a little bit better than I gave you, and I left it wide open for you to explain everything from childhood all the way up to where we're at right now.
Okay, thank you very much. I was very fortunate to go to work early in life in my father's restaurant and dance hall. I had a shoe shine box my older brother bought me, and I got to listen to interesting stories from all my childhood friends who were mostly drug dealers and criminals. I lived in Santa Ana, California, and my father was a plasterer. He actually worked on Disneyland out here. And when he was running out of work, he went to plaster this large building and ended up taking over the lease. And it was on the edge of society, out on the edge of the farm fields at that time in 1956, 57. And I ended up living in a Latino neighborhood for years until I was about 16. My father was a fluent Spanish speaker because he worked in construction, and I took it in school, and I took over the plastering business for 38 years, and my employees were mostly Hispanic, so I speak passable Spanish. And out of all these experiences, I have written over a dozen fiction novels. I have been to 110 countries, including North Korea. And I have a website at cowboyproductions52.com. I've been retired for 14 years and travel the world.
Okay. So, in reference to your books, explain a little bit more about, what your books are about.
My first novel was a story about a young serf. It's an 18th century English, I call it Robin Hood meets Downton Abbey. And it's about a young man named Lawrence who finds himself in a wonderful set of circumstances by a stroke of luck. He ended up saving King George III when he was a teenager, and they became not close friends, but they had a relationship. And through that saving the prince, he was given 3 pieces of land by the king, and he got a chance to become a entrepreneur. And my books all tend to be about family circumstance and self-reliance. I grew up in a situation where we all were self-employed. I was self-employed. My brother is self-employed. And that culture, I think, breeds self-reliance and helps one become successful.
Okay.
I have several detective novels I've written, an Asian historical fiction novel, and I have 3 books on Audible and about 11 or 12 books on Amazon and Kindle.
Okay. So what led you to write these detective novels?
Well, I have a degree in criminology, an AA degree, and I was going to go to law school, but I always worked with my father, and I went to school at night. So after graduating and getting an AA degree, I was married and bought a home and was starting to raise a family. And I realized that I was making a good income in the business I was already in. I had a trade and some skills. And so I kept working in that field for all those years. I didn't get to go to law school. My grandfather actually was an attorney at one time, and my nephew's an attorney now. But I was very content working with my hands. I have kind of an artistic temperament. And in my business, I got a lot of really instant gratification from doing repairs on buildings and doing tile showers and things of that like.
Okay. All right. So you went and got an associate's degree in criminology, and then that led you into writing these detective novels. So and you said you had your hands on. You had this construction business. So when you had the construction business, you you mentioned you were fixing up buildings, but what else did you? I know you mentioned some other things, but please repeat them again in reference to it. In reference to what you did with this company that you had.
Well, I worked with property management companies, and I mostly repaired the vacant apartments when people moved out after damage and water leaks and vandalism. I repaired the interior of apartments, and I also repaired stucco when automobiles would crash into them, or whenever the plumbers had to come in and cut holes in the walls, I would come in and repair those after those plumbers fixed leaks and so forth. My father and I also did some small land development. My father and I built 4 duplex buildings ourselves, did all the construction ourselves. And we did that for 2 years before I restarted the business.
Okay.
So, and I was very fortunate. I worked in probably over 200,000 different homes and apartments over my career. And I got to meet a lot of very interesting people and hear their stories. I used to tell people that the hole in the wall is only an excuse to get me into your house, so I can talk to you, because I love chatting with people and learning about their history and their family backgrounds.
Okay. All right. And so we had that. So we might as well go to the point where we have the questions. And so we at the podcast have this number one fan, number one supporter, and she's a real life superheroine. And her name is American Fox. And she had sent you questions in advance. So we're going to get to those questions now. So the first question that she has for you, and just bear with me one moment. Here we go. Is this: what were your favorite places to travel to? You said you had traveled all these, around the world.
I think Nepal was a life-changing experience for my wife and I. We trekked up in the Annapurna Mountains for 2 weeks. We were there before the king of Nepal was assassinated. And we got to go to a lot of villages, walk through these villages, and our Sherpas carried all our gear. And in the evenings, they would tell us stories and sing local songs. Part of our meals were cold French fries. And I know at home it doesn't taste very good, but out in the Annapurna Mountains, when you're...
Yep, we lost him a moment. We lost him a moment. Hopefully we'll get him back.
Here we go.
There we go. Yeah, we lost you for a minute. So just repeat the answer again, please.
Sure. My favorite trip with my wife and I was to Nepal. We learned about these families there that farm, and we watched the young children go to school happily in uniform and then come home and work on the farm. And it's an enlightening experience to see people who work together as a unit like my family did. The homes are built on stilts. The oxen live underneath and heat the homes. The landscapes are beautiful. I rode on top of the bus with our Sherpas and got to see the country from the top of a bus rather than sitting inside. And we hiked up in the mountains for 3 weeks and through villages. And we got up to 20,000 feet or so. We got almost to base camp, but it was an incredible experience. And as always, when you travel, you get to view other people's culture and what they think is important and how they function every day.
Okay. All right. So let's expand a little bit more on the countries for a moment before we go on to the other questions from American Fox. Um, so you had gone through 100 some countries, you said, and you said Nepal is your best. Of the country, excuse me, of the countries that you haven't visited yet, what is the ultimate place that you want to visit?
Well, that's a hard question. We're going back to India for our fourth time in September. I've been to North Korea. I've been all through Asia. I've been to Mongolia, much of Africa, probably into the interior of Africa and the Belgian Congo, formerly Belgian Congo. I've written a book about a sailing voyage around the east coast of Africa, so probably more of Africa.
More of Africa. Okay. All right. And of all the countries that you had visited, staying within the topic, which ones would you never want to go to again?
Boy, I can't say that I would not go to any other country again. Well, we just came back from the Balkans and Albania, and that's a very interesting place to travel to. I find traveling to any place interesting. Actually, the process of traveling, and we usually travel in groups. The group experience is interesting for me, and watching the group dynamics in case things go haywire and seeing how people react to that. But I'd go back anywhere I've been. Absolutely.
Okay. So there's not any single country, not even like France or Italy or Spain or England, that you would never want to visit again?
No, not at all.
Okay. All right. So the second question from American Fox is this. Do your detective novels use different main characters, or are they a series?
They have different main characters, and each one is very different and told in a different way. Absolutely.
Okay. So it's not, you don't have a series like one character doing 4 or 5 novels.
Not in a detective format. In my historical fiction novels, I have Lawrence, the character in The Adventures of the Smith Family, and his younger brother continues into a second book called Sailing Away. So that is a book series of 2, which will soon be 3. And I have a spy novel called Grandpa Ernie's Secrets that's set in Italy. And I'm writing a precursor to this one, and I'll write a follow-up to it also.
Okay. So that leads to the third question from American Fox of what type of fictional history did you write?
I have an Asian historical fiction novel about a young boy who is put into a set of circumstances where he has to lead an army in a land that he's been kidnapped to. I have my English historical fiction novels, which take place in the 18th century during the independence of America, and some of that content focuses on English country expanding to the United States. And I have written, let me think. I think that's the 3 most that I can come up with at the moment.
Okay. All right. So let's stay in the fictional history for a minute. You said you have some coming up even in reference to it. You said, correct?
Yes.
Okay. Can you explain a little bit more, in a little more detail of them?
Absolutely. Sailing Away is a voyage from London through the Mediterranean and down the west coast of Africa and back to London if all goes well. And on board that vessel is a doctor who was obviously very wealthy, had a beautiful wife, and no one on board the ship could understand why he would leave London to go on this dangerous voyage. And as the book unfolds, we learn about why he had to leave London. And when he comes back, we have to help him disappear so that he's not put on trial for a crime he didn't commit. And he did the same type of disappearing act as the father character, the clergyman in my first novel, The Adventures of the Smith Family. And so he's helped by this clergyman. The clergyman has a deep secret in the first novel. The doctor has a deep secret in the second novel.
Mm-hmm.
And the third novel will explain how he was put in those circumstances and hopefully prove his innocence.
Okay. All right. And so with these fictional novels that you've written, and some of them you're actually making into a series. Let's go back to the detective novels a minute. And in reference to any of them, have you started working on them, making them into a series?
Well, I think my latest one, which is called The Bad Seed, it takes place in Phoenix, Arizona. The main character is a retired detective who's living a perfect life. And his nephew, who has lost his father through divorce, finds himself in a mess with a drug cartel. And this book is about how this detective and a few new friends bring down this drug cartel through chicanery and very little violence.
But we lost
to
we lost
reappear.
him again. Oh, okay. We had lost you for a moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
This book, another novel, his cohort.
There must be something with your internet.
Who was in the CIA. And so three of them.
Yeah, your internet is kind of going in and out as you're talking. Just to let you know. And he's frozen again. Okay. Let's give him a minute. Let's give it a minute. Yeah, we lost him for a moment. Hopefully we'll get him back. Just bear with us. So, I mean, we do have one more question from American Fox that we're going to get to in a moment. We're just waiting for RC to come back so we can ask that question. So right now, as we are waiting for RC to come back, mainly what we're talking about is how he got started and what led to him. We just lost him, so he's going to try it. I think he's going to try to come back on. Hopefully, we'll get him back on. We're mainly discussing how he got into being a writer, author, writer, and explain a little bit more of the books that he has written, as well as what's coming up next. Hopefully, RC will be back. And he's also traveled a lot of countries. And so we learned at this point that he's enjoyed every country he's gone to. And his goal is to visit parts of Africa that he never got a chance to visit. So hopefully we'll have him back on to explain that. And so let's see what happens within the next couple minutes. But in the meantime as well, please check out the website, lifewithjoeycalvo.website. I will do my best to update it regularly in reference to it. We have some upcoming guests coming up the rest of this month, as well as during as much as into the summer. We have a possible live event that is changing left and right, but we are working on a live event coming up in September. More details will be coming up soon in reference to it. We're going to give RC another couple minutes here. I don't know if he was uncomfortable with the questions or the process. And I do the best, folks, to give you as much information about the guests as possible. In reference to, who they are, to be able to fulfill the time slot. Because as of right now, if this is going to be the way this may not make it to TV. Oh, here we go. We got him back. Okay. Give me one moment. Okay, RC, welcome back. Yeah, your internet was going in and out.
Yes.
So we, as you were out, I was explaining. I was summarizing what we had talked about at this point.
Right.
So the to go back to the question I had, which I believe was about the detective novels.
Yes.
And so, please repeat the answer. Restart the answer in reference to.
Sure. The Bad Seed is a new detective novel on Amazon that involves a retired detective who has to rescue his nephew from a situation not of his own fault. And he creates a crew of 3, including himself. One is an Army veteran from the Afghan War, and the other is a female CIA agent with interesting connections and abilities.
Okay. All right. And so in reference to that, and so let's go to the last question from American Fox. And her 4th question for you is, are you into superhero comics?
I have been in the past. I was never a big comic aficionado, but I do appreciate Spider-Man.
Okay. All right. Have you thought of it to add on to that question? Have you thought of maybe doing a superhero type book that could be fictional history or even detective history? Detective novel?
It's interesting that you mentioned that, because I have sent my information out to many animators, and I think that my stories could be tweaked in a way that would make that format work for them. Lawrence is a superhero of the 18th century. He has great archery skills, and he's a very smart individual. All these characters of mine are very different and have great abilities in their own right. So they could be changed slightly to become a superhero. In fact, maybe we're all superheroes in our own way. Surely my characters are.
Okay. All right. So thank you, American Fox, as always, for all those great questions. All right. And so my question to you at this point is this. Where do we see you in the next 5 to 10 years?
Well, that's a good question. I'm going to be 75 in February. So I hope to be writing still. I hope to have an agent to represent me. I've received many requests of that at the moment, but many seem to be scams and unreliable. But I'm working at that. I have a trip to India I'm leaving for in September. I'm going back to England. I go to England quite often. My wife's family are there. My family came from there many generations ago, and I find that area quite interesting. I have family in Japan. I've traveled Japan several times, and it's a very interesting little place, but it's full of microclimates and different cultures. So we plan on going back to Japan often. We just did a road trip on Route 66. I'm on TikTok. I'm on TikTok at RC Hand, by the way.
Okay.
And I have posted my pictures of my my Route 66 trip up there and information about my books. So I hope I play tennis 3 days a week and handball. I hope to continue doing that. I volunteer at a hospital 1 day a week. I hope to continue doing that. I'm going to try to remain as active mentally and physically as humanly possible as I age. And I hope to live to a ripe old age.
Okay. And just to give you an idea, in reference to an agent, what I'll do is when we finish this podcast, I'm gonna forward you to someone that has been on the podcast that helps with writers and authors. So maybe this person could work with you.
That would be wonderful.
Yeah, and matter of fact, as I will introduce you, you will get a copy of it because I will actually just put you right into it. You'll see the actual email of what is being sent, so you'll know that I'm not, playing games in reference to it.
I appreciate that.
Yeah. So, we definitely will do something, at least to be a help for you being on the podcast. Something that kind of makes me feel good sometimes. If I'm able to reach out, like in reference to like our podcast fan and supporter, I've introduced her to so many people that some of them reached out to her, which was, they wanted to reach out to her and get to know her and, maybe learn things. And it's a great thing. And I've never said it, and American Fox is going to be shocked to hear this on this podcast, but I'm happy that I've been doing that I am making a difference. Even though people don't tell me that I make a difference, I'm starting to see that I am in my own way. And so I'm going to continue that with you today. Like I said, when this podcast is over, I'm going to be reaching right out to that person. And you will be part of that email. So you will definitely, like I said, you will see straight out what is being said, that, I'm not going to hide anything or, say, this guy is not, I will come up with something that will.
Well, you don't know me well enough to know my faults. That's absolutely
right. And that's something you could talk to with that person in reference to it, because she
help each other.
And she's also an agent. Yeah, and she's also an agent too, because she has sent some authors to me as well. So she'll be able to get you more podcasts than mine. And at the same time, I'm even going to, when I put this on Facebook, I will actually turn around, and there's 2 podcast groups that I belong to on Facebook. So I'm going to turn around and mention to them and say, hey, you need a guest on your show. Here's this author that you can, chat with.
Sure.
In reference to it. And we'll see where that goes. But I'm definitely going to do that email first before I do anything else. So like I said, you'll see that copy of the email as well. And so go to cowboyproductions52.com and you will learn more about RC Hand. And if you have questions for him about or ideas that maybe could interest him, let him know.
Absolutely.
Yeah, because not everybody has ideas right up their mind. Right there and then. Sometimes they need a little nudging. And I learned that the hard way, believe it or not. Like I said, it took a fan and supporter to do that, RC, just to let you know. And you met that person just now in reference to it. believe me, you learn a lot during that. So thank you, RC. You're welcome to come back on this podcast as well anytime. Okay.
Thank you.
And when anything new comes up, or who knows?
I have one question.
Sure.
How are you feeling these days?
The real truth is, I'm not the greatest person in the world. But over the past couple weeks, I've been enlightened. And it came back to something that I've mentioned on this podcast. And over the past week, I've been doing a lot of reflecting. And what happened was, back in December, I wasn't working. This was before I found out I was getting some assistance. I didn't know what I was going to do. I felt like I was going to lose where I'm living and everything, because I didn't know where the next dollar was coming from. This podcast was starting to fall apart just a little bit. So I almost attempted suicide. And so I went and confronted it by going to Penn's Landing, which is, for those that ever come to Philadelphia, yes, you want to visit Penn's Landing. It is a great area where you can look at the Delaware River. You can see the USS New Jersey on the other side in Camden. And you can look at the Ben Franklin Bridge on one side, the Walt Whitman Bridge on the other. And like I said, you can see the USS New Jersey, the Adventure Aquariums on the other side in Camden, as well as the Freedom Insurance Pavilion, and where the Philadelphia 76ers train. So there's interesting things on both sides, and of course, Penn's Landing, you've got the hotels, you've got the beginning of Old City, Philadelphia. You have the memorials and stuff all along in that area there as well. So I had confronted my thoughts, and I had looked at the Delaware River, and I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm really done this time. And then all of a sudden, as I'm walking along the pier, this guy just slides at the end of the stone, where and I almost thought he was going to fall into the water. I thought he was going to fall into the water, and it stopped me right there. As it stopped me right there, I had people remind me that I was still needed. Now, I didn't know that God had lined up everything afterwards. I didn't know it. But one thing God had told me was that this podcast was my calling. That was the first thing he said to me. And I said, okay, how are we going to make this happen? How am I going to make money off of it? How am I going to live off of it? Well, he didn't tell me everything else was coming after that. Because he said that everything in reference to your life is going to go through someone. I said, okay. And I've learned who that someone has been in reference to that. And never knew how much that person was really going to make an impact. And so that was going on. And the oddest thing that I keep saying is the day that I was going to do this, I was actually looking to see my father and my brother, who had passed away before, to show up on the pier to come get me. And I was looking around, thinking, okay, they're gonna come. They're as I'm getting ready to do it, they're gonna come, and then I would have known my life was gonna end. They didn't show, and that's when I really had to sit down with God on it, and like I said, and He was telling me this stuff. So I had left Penn's Landing with a little bit of hope in me. Just a little bit. Because, again, I didn't know what was going on, where I was going with this. To find out a classmate of mine had died that day.
Mm.
And I call her my angel because she was the other person that said, you're not going. I have a reason to go. You don't. And over this past week, I had to reflect on it. I'm like, well, why did she actually become an angel to me? And I had a question. I literally was questioning everything. I had a classmate. Now, when I was told that she had passed away, I was told originally not to say anything. And it's hard for me to keep things, hold things back. Especially something like this. And especially of who the person was in reference to it. I mean, I was really in tears about it originally. But over the next day or two, after I found out this person passed away, one of my other classmates came to me and said, she always talked about you. I said, what? She said, yeah, she would talk about you. I was thrown for a loop. And then, like I said, this week, I actually had to reflect on that. I'm like, why is this happening? So I literally questioned my Facebook friends. I said, this person passed away. And this classmate told me that she would always talk about me. And I'm really curious on why this person was talking about me. So her brother got to me a couple of days ago and literally just said, she always talked positive about you. And he's like, I hope this helps you in getting an idea. And I'm like, yeah. I was like, well, now I know why. And I kind of knew a little bit, but I never thought that, this person would actually, outside of seeing me, tell other people about me or talk about me in any other way. And I was like, thank you for the closure, because that gave me the idea of, hey, at least I know why she didn't want me to go, because she knew I had all this positivity in my life. And she didn't want me to leave it. And as time has gone by, I've literally learned that, yes, I have this positivity that I keep bottling because I'm my own worst enemy. Did you ever see the movie Judge Dredd with Sylvester Stallone?
Yes.
Okay. And you know that character was judge, jury, and executioner?
Yes.
Judge Dredd. I was my own judge, jury, and executioner.
We all have a touch of that, and perhaps you just focus on more of that than the rest of us or some of us. But you cannot know, you will never know the positive effects you've had on so many people because you can't be in contact with all those people. This is a given that
Right.
all of us have a profound effect on other people as we pass through this life.
Well, yeah, and that's what I've learned. That's what I learned. So as I was thinking about the classmate in reference to it and getting that closure, knowing that she would talk all these positive things about me, it made me realize about someone who enjoyed me being positive. And I was throwing out every negative thing about me. And, you know, it was like I was pushing these people away because I didn't feel that I was worth it to them, that I had a value. Like I said, I was Judge Dredd to myself. I literally, and to this day, I will not forgive myself for some things I've done in my past. I will not, no matter how much I will even go near touching it, I will never forgive myself for what I've done. Do I regret what I've done? Yes, I have. But I will never forgive myself for what I've done. And that's kind of a cloud that hangs over me that I can't get rid of, no matter how much I would like to. But I've learned how to work. But I've learned how to work around that cloud now, to where, like I said, I always say to the audience, if I made a difference, I'd like to know, because that tells me, hey, you taught me, you showed me this, and thank you, for that. If I got one thank you for what I've done, I could accept myself for it. But these people that watch on YouTube or now on PhillyCAM TV, they don't have that opportunity. They have the opportunity to say it, but they shouldn't be afraid to say it. And that's what kind of, it does hurt me a little bit, because I'd like to know, just like in reference to being a voice of this podcast. I'm not the voice of this podcast. Yes, the podcast is called Life with Joey Calvo, but it's not. I'm just supposed to be the quote unquote moderator of it. You want to know who the real voice of this podcast has been? Here we go. This has been the voice of the podcast. Would I like more than just this for the voice of the podcast? Of course I do. Because this is not my podcast. Yes, it's called Life. It's supposed to be Life in quotes with Joey Calvo. But I didn't plan it that way when I did it. And this has been on for 7 years.
Wow.
Yeah.
So you must have had an impact on a lot of people over those 7 years.
You know what? Like I said, I don't know. Because supposedly, There are two that have actually said, yes, I've made an impact. And I just showed you one.
Well, I can't imagine that you didn't with that many opportunities.
But the thing now, when I had the rock band Sepsis on, oh yeah, I had like 50, 60 people watching it, mainly for the band, which was good. And the comments and everything was good. I mean, when that, and that's why I always tell guests ahead of time, let your followers know that you're going to be on this channel so they can come on the live, because all they have to do is click on the YouTube channel, and there's a little red live that's around the logo. And when they click on it, it brings them onto the live stream to where they can turn around and be a part of it. And that's all I've ever asked, in reference to it. If you tell your followers, go to the Life with Joey Calvo YouTube channel, click on the live when there's or even click on the subscribe, click on the notifications. And that way you get a notification when it goes live. And that way you can go right onto it when the notification says, oh, Joey Calvo, Life with Joey Calvo is live right now on YouTube. You click on it, yeah, you'll be on the live stream with the guest. And that way you can be part of it. Yeah, I would see that little I have a 1 or 2 next to it. But I'd rather see a 1 or 2 or 50 with sepsis, like I had with sepsis. And I've had Gregory Jabbar from CBS's Blue Bloods on. I've had I forgot. She doesn't like the word supermodel. Model and actress Carol Alt. Okay? And believe it or not, Carol Alt and I talk on the side after all these years. And I had her on the podcast 7 years ago, 6, 7 years ago. She started following me on social media, which amazed me. Actually, it shocked me. And then after Carol Alt started to follow me, I had Kathy Ireland following me. And I'm like, wow. But as much as I've attempted to have Kathy Ireland come on, she's now Carol Alt. Okay? Carol Alt, I'm going to say this because she deserves this recognition. Carol Alt is the most down-to-earth person, model, actress, that you could ever talk to and get to know. Okay? And the one common thing that I will say that both of us have is we are cat lovers. Okay? One common thing with American Fox and I is, and her being a real-life superheroine, we're both into Wonder Woman. Okay? We are both into Wonder Woman. The Linda Carter version of Wonder Woman, TV series-wise. Okay? We love the hair fall and transformations that happened in seasons 1 and parts of season 2. We could talk about that till we're blue in the face. Okay? But what I'm also working on, and I explained in the beginning about the website. If you go to lifewithjoeycalvo.website, okay, I asked for support. Here's the reason why I asked for support. Yes, this podcast is on PhillyCAM TV. Okay? Fridays at 6 o'clock in the morning. Now, this podcast that we're talking on right now is not going to air until probably not air until 2027. Okay? But and RC, I thank you for giving me a reason to extend this, because we were almost going to cut off at 30 minutes. So I thank you for this. And I also apologize for if I take anything away from you on it. But in the meantime, though, his website is still up on the screen, cowboyproductions52.com. So check him out there. But
I think that all of us are our worst and harshest critics, and we have to remember that and put it in perspective.
Yeah. So this actually started in February, folks, where we got involved with PhillyCAM. And I will tell you that ever since we started on PhillyCAM TV in May. Okay? So we have 18 episodes already up till August. Okay? We are working on getting this on the PhillyCAM radio station as well. But I also put on the website to where you can support the podcast. And again, the reason why I say that I really ask for support for this podcast is because I want to take this podcast further, literally. Okay? I would love to have this podcast that I'm doing with RC right now on the radio in Atlanta, Boston, Chicago, LA, and Seattle. And I've already got somebody that's willing to work with me on it. But I've been trying to find sponsors myself who literally who would want to sponsor this podcast enough that I can do that. And I put out so many, and I got turned down for them. Did I get the press from it? Yes, I did. Because I would think that, some national company would come out and say, you know what? We'll pay the whatever it is to have you on the radio in all these stations, all these locations per month. Not even a budge from it. And so now I'm doing it on my own. So that's why if you go to the lifewithjoeycalvo website, there is a button that says donate on the home page. While you're on that page, you'll also see it's still being worked on. There's still some editing I have to work on. But there will be a live event possibly on there soon. And I want to be able to do live events like meet and greets, where you could possibly come to Atlantic City and meet RC Hand in person and have him sign one of his books, or have a picture taken with him, or have him sign something. And he would, benefit from it, of course, and meet new fans in New Jersey. Okay? That's part of my goal as well, in having these live events, because I want to make it like you were asking me, of making a difference. This is how I want to show, hey, here's your chance to meet American Fox. And I will tell you, American Fox has been on the go for this. The only thing that's been holding it back is making it happen. So that's why, again, I implore this. I say this to the guests. I say this to, the viewers that do watch it. I put it in the description. Help support this podcast. Okay? When it's on PhillyCAM TV, it's not commercial. So I can't say, this is what you got to do. So it's a challenge, but at the same time, it's given me the opportunity. At least I'm on in Philly, TV-wise. Am I happy about it? Hell yes. I couldn't be any more proud of myself for that. But it took some nudging and a little confidence building to do it. So this is why I am asking everybody that's been on this podcast and will be on this podcast to share the lifewithjoeycalvo website and help support this podcast, because who knows? RC's followers may turn around and say, you know what? They had RC on the podcast, and did the best possible interview with him and took it out more in reference to it. I think I could support his pod. I could support the podcast and donate $50 or $100 or $20 or even $5, because every little donation helps. Yes, I'm looking to raise $30,000 to do a meet and greet, but that's flying, and this is what it actually incorporates. Okay, it's flying the guest from where they're at. So, like, for example, with RC, if he decided he wanted to be a participant, flying him from California to Philadelphia, booking him a nice hotel room, and believe me, the room I pick, oh boy, let's just say it this way. Any guest would enjoy the room because it's a historic hotel, first of all, that I chose. Matter of fact, it just became a historic hotel. The room itself, oh my gosh, it's amazing. Plus, transportation, feeding, and also, the opportunity for him to meet in a room with viewers like you and his fans that may be out here in the Philadelphia area, okay, that enjoy his books and want to see him in person. So to make this in a nutshell, that's what it all incurs. There's a lot of cost, yes. That's why I'm asking to raise that money, is because of that. If you think it really has anything to do with me in it, no. Because I got my little quote-unquote nest egg that I work with, that I can manage. So, RC, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. Thank you for letting me explain a little bit more detail of what this podcast really is. Go to cowboyproductions52.com. RC is welcome to come back on this podcast anytime. Please share the website with your followers.
Absolutely.
Okay? And if you want to put it on your you have permission to put it on your website to advertise and so on. I appreciate that really much. It'll be in the description in the YouTube channel when I send you the link for that.
Okay.
Thank you, everybody, for watching the Life with Joey Calvo podcast. God bless you all.
Thank you, Joey.